Hi, I'm Alina, and this is the story of how I learned that some people believe they're entitled to others' hard work, that a shared vision can be twisted into a tool for personal gain. For years, I poured my passion and expertise into building a revolutionary sustainable energy startup, tirelessly developing the core technology, only to discover that my trusted co-founder, Mark, was secretly sabotaging our progress and selling our proprietary innovations to a rival company. This is the story of how I brought down a corporate saboteur and reclaimed the future of clean energy. I still remember the late nights fueled by coffee and dreams when Mark and I first founded EcoWatt Solutions. I was the lead engineer, a visionary in renewable energy systems, specializing in groundbreaking solar and wind hybrid technologies. Mark, with his background in business development and his smooth, persuasive charm, was the CEO. We met at a university incubator, bonding over our shared desire to combat climate change. "Alina, your tech is a game changer," he told me, his eyes alight with conviction. "With my ability to scale, we'll put clean energy in every home." Naively, I believed him. We poured our collective savings and countless hours into building the company from the ground up. The early days were a whirlwind of innovation and sacrifice. I designed the prototypes, conducted rigorous testing in the lab, and secured the initial patents for our unique energy storage solutions. Mark, meanwhile, was the public face, effortlessly charming investors, securing partnerships, and giving inspiring presentations at industry conferences. He was a master at networking, always at the right place, meeting the right venture capitalists and government officials. My former professor, Dr. Alina Petrova, a brilliant but cautious energy physicist, often gave me subtle warnings. "Mark has a powerful drive, Alina," she'd once remarked, a slight pause in her voice. "But always ensure the innovation remains protected, dear." I admired Mark's ability to attract funding and thought Dr. Petrova was just being overly cautious. EcoWatt Solutions soared to prominence. Within 3 years, we were lauded as industry disruptors, securing major government grants and attracting significant private investment. Our hybrid energy systems were being piloted in communities, drawing international attention. Mark, ever the charismatic leader, reveled in the spotlight. He was constantly appearing in business magazines, giving interviews on national television, and accepting prestigious environmental awards. "Our success is a testament to shared vision and tireless effort," he'd always say in speeches, conveniently glossing over the fact that he barely understood the intricate engineering principles or the hundreds of hours I spent refining our core algorithms. I, on the other hand, was content to let the transformative impact of our technology speak for itself. I believed that true innovation and environmental stewardship were their own rewards. The first hint of trouble came subtly. Critical components for our prototypes seemed to be delayed or arrive with slight, almost imperceptible design flaws that set back testing. Then came the unexplained leaks of sensitive R&D data, minor intellectual property breaches that seemed to give our competitors an unfair advantage, forcing us to constantly re-innovate. When I questioned Mark, he'd dismiss it with a casual shrug. "Just supply chain issues, Alina. Or perhaps industrial espionage. It's a cutthroat industry, you know." He always had a plausible explanation, a confident smile, and a reminder of our overall growth. And I, wanting to believe the best in my trusted co-founder, pushed the nagging doubts aside. After all, he was handling the business side, leaving me free to focus on the science. 4 years into EcoWatt's success, Mark announced a monumental press conference, unveiling our latest, most efficient hybrid energy system, poised to disrupt the global market. This was our crowning achievement, designed to secure billions in future contracts. That's when Mark decided to bring in his former business school rival, Liam, as the new strategic development consultant. Liam was notoriously aggressive, with a reputation for sharp dealing and dubious ethics. "He's a genius at market penetration," Alina, Mark assured me. He'll ensure we dominate the industry. I had a bad feeling about Liam from the start. He was overly secretive about his meetings and constantly tried to steer conversations away from our technical specifications. But Mark insisted, and as CEO, his word carried weight, especially with the investors. With Liam on board, the technical glitches became more frequent and more damaging. Key software modules inexplicably failed during crucial demonstrations, and subtle design changes appeared in prototypes without my approval, compromising efficiency. When I confronted Mark, his demeanor hardened. The charming smile was replaced by a cold, calculating stare. "Alina, you're becoming an impediment," he'd said, his voice laced with an unfamiliar harshness. "This is big business. You, as an engineer, wouldn't understand the commercial complexities." His words stung, but I pushed harder. "I understand the technology, Mark. And this technology is being compromised." He simply shrugged, his expression unreadable, and walked away. Then came the much-anticipated Global Energy Summit, a high-profile event where EcoWatt was slated to sign its largest-ever contract with a major international utility company. Mark had orchestrated it, emphasizing its importance for our global future. I arrived early, feeling a profound sense of dread. Mark and Liam were already there, looking unusually smug, their faces exuding an almost predatory excitement. As the grand exhibition hall filled with industry titans, government delegates, and environmental activists, Mark stepped onto the stage, exuding his usual air of charismatic leadership. "Good morning, pioneers of a sustainable future," he began, his voice booming with practiced sincerity. "EcoWatt Solutions stands at the threshold of a new energy era. And to truly seize this moment, I am thrilled to announce a significant restructuring of our leadership." My heart pounded. Restructuring? What was he talking about? Effective immediately, Mark continued, his eyes sweeping over the influential crowd, intentionally avoiding mine. "Liam, my invaluable strategic partner and industry visionary, will be taking on the newly created role of Chief Innovation Officer. This move will provide the streamlined, decisive leadership that a global energy leader like EcoWatt truly demands." A cold dread washed over me. This wasn't just about restructuring, this was about consolidating their control and pushing me out. "For too long," Mark added, his voice dripping with false concern, "our scaling efforts have been hampered by, shall we say, a certain overemphasis on theoretical perfection." While Alina has been commendable in her engineering contributions, her focus has remained too narrowly on the lab. To truly accelerate our market penetration and secure our competitive edge, we need a leader with a broader vision, someone who understands aggressive market strategies, intellectual property acquisition, and the cutthroat realities of global business. The industry titans exchanged confused glances, their power suits rustling. I sat there, stunned, as Mark continued his thinly veiled character assassination. "Some people," he said, now looking directly at me, a condescending smirk playing on his lips, "are simply better suited for the technical grunt work, for back-end development. Alina's talent lies in her schematics, not in executive leadership. Her rigid adherence to scientific purity and her lack of commercial pragmatism have become a liability. It's time for her to gracefully step aside from any significant decision-making roles within EcoWatt." The room was silent, the air thick with unspoken judgment. Every eye was on me, waiting for my reaction. I could feel the pity, the schadenfreude, the silent condemnation. Everything I had built, every line of code I had written, every ounce of passion I had poured into EcoWatt Solutions was being stripped away in front of everyone I knew. My mind raced, a whirlwind of anger and disbelief. Mark had orchestrated this, meticulously, cruelly. The compromised components, the leaked data, Liam's sudden rise, it all clicked into place. They had been systematically isolating me, preparing for this very public betrayal. I stood up slowly. My chair scraping against the polished floor, the sound echoing through the vast hall like a gunshot. Everyone expected a scene, tears, an outburst, maybe even a desperate plea. Instead, I simply walked to the prototype of our latest hybrid energy system, which glowed proudly on display, and calmly reached into a hidden compartment. I pulled out a small, encrypted data chip, held it up for all to see, then carefully placed it on the floor at Mark's feet. "Remember who built this, Mark," I said, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil raging inside me. "And remember whose future you just tried to steal." Then, without another word, I turned and walked out, leaving behind the stunned silence and the lingering questions in the opulent hall. That night, as I sat in my small apartment, surrounded by my engineering blueprints and the quiet hum of my personal server, I made a decision. Mark thought he had one, but he had forgotten one crucial detail, something that would turn his moment of triumph into the biggest mistake of his treacherous career. As I powered up my laptop and began typing, a small, grim smile played on my lips. Tomorrow would be interesting indeed. After all, there's more than one way to power a revolution, and I had learned more in years of honest, hands-on innovation than Mark had learned in all his years of charming investors and backroom deals. The next morning would bring changes that none of them saw coming, changes that would make them realize exactly how truly indispensable true innovation and unwavering integrity really were. The next morning dawned bright and clear. I arrived at the EcoWatt Solutions main office early, before anyone else, and waited. Precisely at 9 a.m., Mark strode through the grand entrance with Liam by his side, both wearing triumphant smiles that were about to be wiped from their faces. "Alina?" Mark's voice held a mix of surprise and annoyance. "What are you doing here? I thought after last night you'd have the dignity to stay home." I smiled, remembering the encrypted, time-stamped logs and detailed reports I had sent at 3 a.m. to the Department of Energy's investigative unit, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and every major tech and environmental news outlet. "Just wrapping up some loose ends, Mark, dear," I said sweetly. "But since you're here, we should probably talk about EcoWatt's future." "There's nothing to discuss," Mark interjected, his voice firm. "Liam and I are in charge now. The board has already approved it." "Ah, yes, the board," I said, pulling out my tablet. "Let's talk about that. You see, while you were busy sabotaging our progress and selling secrets, I was actually building an ironclad case. And there are a few things you both seem to have forgotten." I pulled up a document on the conference room's main screen, connected to the large display. "First, let me remind you that the intellectual property for our proprietary hybrid energy algorithms, the core design blueprints for our energy storage units, and the source code for our system's operating software, they are not owned by EcoWatt Solutions. They're owned by Alina's Renewable Innovations LLC, a research and development firm I quietly established 3 years ago. EcoWatt Solutions only has a licensing agreement, which expires, I checked my watch, about 10 minutes ago, along with all access protocols to the foundational code and critical design files." The color drained from both their faces. Liam's eyes widened in horror, and Mark's usually confident posture seemed to sag. "That's impossible," Mark whispered, his voice barely audible. "You would never have thought of that." "And that's not all," I continued, pulling up more documents. "Those critical component delays with subtle flaws, the unexplained leaks of sensitive R&D data to our rival, Green Corp Solutions, and the detailed records of your secret meetings with their executives? They weren't just supply chain issues were industrial espionage, they were meticulously documented evidence of corporate sabotage, intellectual property theft, and blatant fraud, complete with timestamps, financial transfers, and recorded communications. And they were all submitted to the Department of Justice's Economic Espionage Unit and the SEC last night. Remember those commercial complexities in our market strategy, Mark?" The ones you dismissed as engineering naivety? My former professor, Dr. Alina Petrova, whom you always considered too academic, has a very keen eye for compromised technology and a fierce commitment to ethical science. Mark collapsed onto a chair, his face slack with dawning realization. The technical glitches in demonstrations, the ones you brushed off as unavoidable? Yes, those ones, I said. They were just the beginning. Liam's face contorted with unadulterated panic. You treacherous little, careful, Liam, I cut him off. You might want to hear the rest before you finish that sentence. While you were busy announcing my supposedly graceful exit last night, I was ensuring that every major tech publication, environmental advocacy group, and every single one of our investors had all the evidence they needed for today's breaking headlines. You see, true innovation, unlike your manufactured charisma, cannot be faked. Last night, I ensured the world finally knew the truth about their visionary leader and his strategic genius. I pulled up my phone, showing dozens of notifications from furious investors and leading energy companies already condemning EcoWatt Solutions. Would you like to know how many multi-billion-dollar contracts are already being frozen or terminated? Or how many federal investigations for corporate espionage and fraud are already being initiated against both of you? The room fell silent. Through the glass walls, we could see the other engineers and staff gathering, whispers spreading as they checked their phones, their faces a mixture of shock and profound disgust. Mark's perfect composure cracked as he frantically checked his phone, only to see it flooded with calls from angry board members and frantic legal teams. You can't do this, he stammered, his voice trembling. My reputation. EcoWatt. Your reputation and EcoWatt's integrity ceased to exist the moment you decided to steal intellectual property and humiliate someone who genuinely believed in clean energy, I finished for him. The one you thought you could just push aside because I preferred engineering truth to corporate fiction. That illusion of success you built. It's crumbling right now. I stood up, smoothing my lab coat. So, here are your options. Option 1, you are arrested here, in your office, in front of your staff, and face a full public prosecution for fraud, corporate espionage, and intellectual property theft, losing everything. Mark's face was ashen. And option 2? He whispered, his voice barely audible. Option 2, you both resign, effective immediately, citing personal reasons related to unforeseen ethical conflicts. You cooperate fully with the federal investigations, providing comprehensive testimony about the entire scheme and everyone involved, in exchange for a slightly reduced sentence. You forfeit all ill-gotten gains, your reputations will still be in tatters, but you might avoid maximum prison sentences. Liam will also receive a similar plea bargain if he cooperates. And I, Alina, will publicly commend your courage in stepping down for the good of sustainable energy. Liam's face had turned an interesting shade of green. You planned this all along, didn't you? You've just been waiting for the right moment to destroy us. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. No, Liam. I spent years trying to build an honest, impactful energy solution while you both took me for granted. I valued innovation and environmental stewardship, not deceit, while you collected illicit profits and sabotaged progress. I only planned this, I checked my watch again, about 12 hours ago, after you called my dedication a liability in front of everyone we know. The authorities are outside right now, awaiting my signal. Time's running out. What's it to be? The next hour was a blur of paperwork, federal agents, and signed confessions. By noon, I sat alone in what was now a quiet, strangely empty office, looking at the city skyline. The company, once tainted by corporate espionage, was now truly ours again, the future's. But the victory felt bittersweet. Trust shattered like shattered solar panels. Dr. Petrova, my former professor, came to see me that evening, a weary but proud smile on her face. "Did it have to end this way, Alina?" she asked softly. "They gave me no choice, Dr. Petrova," I replied, my voice gentle but firm. "They would have continued to exploit the technology and betray the planet's future without a second thought." She nodded slowly, understanding but somber. "What happens now?" I showed her the plans I had already drawn up, a complete restructuring of EcoWatt Solutions under new, ethical leadership, with renewed focus on open-source collaboration and direct environmental impact. Now, we would rebuild something even stronger, a company truly dedicated to its mission, but this time, we'd do it without having to carry people who saw clean energy as just a means to personal wealth. Over the next year, the newly reformed EcoWatt Solutions, under my sole leadership, flourished. Our technologies became more efficient, our transparency won us unprecedented investor loyalty, and our commitment to environmental solutions became a benchmark in the industry. Mark and Liam were prosecuted, their names forever synonymous with corporate sabotage and greed, serving significant prison sentences. We see each other only through grim news headlines of their downfall, a polite distance that masks the wounds that may never fully heal. Sometimes, late at night, I look at old photos of Mark and me from the early days of EcoWatt and feel a twinge of sadness for the shared dream we once had. But then I remember that summit, the look of disdain on Mark's face, the way he dismissed my genuine innovation. In clean energy, and in life, true power comes from purpose, not from profit. He learned that lesson too late. As for me, I learned that sometimes, the quiet ones, the ones meticulously building the foundational technology, are the ones you should watch out for. Because we're the ones who know how to build a case, how to uncover the hidden code, and how to bring down even the most charming figures when they betray the future. My story spread through the renewable energy sector, a cautionary tale about underestimating the wrong person. These days, when I attend industry conferences, I often catch whispers, "That's Alina, the one who," they never finish the sentence, but they don't have to. The thriving technology and the unwavering integrity of our company speak for themselves. Last week, I received an invitation to speak at the World Climate Solutions Conference on Ethical Innovation and Corporate Responsibility. The topic? Powering the Future, When Integrity Meets Innovation. I accepted the invitation with a small smile, already planning my speech. After all, I have quite a story to tell. The company continues to thrive under its renewed commitment to honesty and technological advancement, but more importantly, I found peace with my decisions. Sometimes, the strongest message you can send is simply proving people wrong. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't about destroying others. It's about rising so high that they can't help but see their own mistakes and the damage they caused. As I write this from my new, sunlit office at EcoWatt Solutions, overlooking the city powered by our clean energy, I'm reminded of something. Dr. Petrova once told me, the truth, like clean energy, always finds its way to the light. She was right. I've moved past the need for revenge now. These days, I focus on building something truly meaningful, something that will outlast all the petty greed and self-serving ambition. I still keep a small, framed photo of our very first working prototype, a reminder of why I started and why I will never stop fighting for what's right. Until then, it serves as a reminder that our greatest strengths often come from the very things others underestimate about us.